Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I want to talk a little bit about something theorycraft related. Now, I'm sure you can tell by the title, which I haven't come up with yet at the time of this recording, but I have a whole bunch of topics that I've been writing down and video ideas and things, and there's been kind of something that I've been planning through my games and kind of working on, and it really started around the idea of Gardevoir jungle and just having Gardevoir in a team in general. But I want to talk about the viability, and I want to theorycraft with y'all the viability of running late game team comps. Now, here's the thing, I say this all the time, y'all are probably tired of hearing me say it. Pokemon Unite is a 10-minute MOBA. It's 10 minutes long. Zapdos works the way that Zapdos does because it's 10 minutes long, and even though I do think that Zapdos needs to kind of be changed a little bit, or nerfed, not necessarily entirely reworked, but some kind of lesser point swing than what it personally, or what it currently provides, there's a reason why it's there. It's there because such a short game means that the early team that takes lead usually wins, and they want that heavy swing. So what does that do for the viability of late game team comps? So it's funny, I made that Gardevoir jungle video, and there were a couple comments oh, this is a meme, or one guy on, I think I posted it on Reddit, and basically it got called a meme by one Redditor, and no big deal, I'm not worried about it. But it's not that I'm memeing putting Gardevoir in the jungle. It's more so that I'm looking for a way to get her online faster, or get Gardevoir online faster, as a way to make it more viable to run that Pokemon. Now, the reality is that I think that if you put Gardevoir in jungle, I think that if you put Gardevoir in lane, more often than not, you're going to see that, they're really not going to do a whole lot until kind of late game. They're not going to do a whole lot until they get their ultimate. They can poke a little bit, but at the end of the day, there's probably a different Pokemon that can do a little bit more. So this is where that thought comes when whenever I start talking about late game viability and late game team comps. So what would a late game team comp be? Well, really, I haven't really come up with a full team comp for it. This is something that I still want to theorycraft out, but the goal would be essentially to minimize the gains of the enemy team. Really, I should say it as in you're minimizing the losses of your team early on. You're trying to do what you can to stay in the game without giving up too much, in order to have a team that is very, very strong later on. And there's a few Pokemon. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what Pokemon might end up in a team comp like this, but there really are a few Pokemon that I feel really come to life a little bit later on. Some of them being honestly Garchomp and Charizard. Those Pokemon really start to come online whenever they hit their ultimates, whenever they get around level 9, level 10, and by that time you're about halfway through the game or so, which is mid game, but you're encroaching on late game by the time they're really starting to push out the damage or be in the position that they want to be in. And if you're running a bunch of those Pokemon, chances are you're probably giving up Dreadnoughts, you're probably struggling a little bit in lane, you're probably just not having the best time. So how do you have a late game team comp, and what does this look like? Again, this isn't something I'm telling you guys that I know will work. It's definitely something that I'm thinking about, and I'd love to try it more, and probably try it at some point, in the Discord or whatever the case may be. If you're not in the Discord, definitely look to join in. But I think that there's a lot to be said for Gardevoir. There's a lot to be said for some of the all-rounders that just take a little bit to come online. But even something like running double tank, where early on you might have a little bit of fighting capabilities in your lane, or what the case may be, but you could run Slowbro Snorlax, because those are definitely a strong combination. You could run something that's just inherently a much more tanky team. We were kind of messing around playing triple tank. I actually think that really comes to, online way later, because you can kind of run crit X scissors with Crustle, and then have a nice tanky front line. You could even run a Wigglytuff with it, and then throw a Gardevoir in for a strong carry, or something like that, something really crazy, or even run that with an Eldegoss and just have a lot of healing and shielding capabilities with a really heavy front line. But the whole point would be essentially to, like I said, give up as little XP as possible, meaning that you would have to go into the game knowing that you want to not really contest a whole lot, and that would be a little it's a little contradictory to the way that the game is usually played, because usually the goal is to try to get the lead and to take the lead and have it, you know, throughout the course of the game, but that may not always be the best decision. So whenever we were playing with Triple Tank, I think one of the games that we played, we gave up first Dreadnought intentionally and we traded out top lane. So we let them take Dreadnought, which is undeniably an experience lead, but we're trying to minimize the experience lead that they would get if we contested them at Dreadnought and then they beat us, took the Dreadnought, got a bunch of kills, and then took our bottom goal as well. So I think we went to Rotom like top, we got that, you know, we got our own experience, we were able to take out like their own goal, and that's kind of like what it looks like whenever you're trying to avoid those early to mid game fights. You're specifically trying to like be on the opposite side of the map of them until later in the game, and you'll lose experience doing that, meaning like they will get a little bit ahead, but you won't be taking like the big detriment of trying to stay ahead and then failing at that and then being behind. So this is, like I said, this is all just me theory crafting in real time while I'm, you know, recording this video. So very, very interested to hear y'all's thoughts. Like I said, I don't have anything really concrete built out. I think that there's some really cool viability that could happen with like 2 or 3 tanks. I think that inherently the number one Pokemon that I can really think of that comes online a little bit later in the game is Gardevoir. She's very, very strong, but early on, not so much. Just not so much. Some of the all-rounders, like I said, Charizard's really, really good, but you just got to get him there. Garchomp, again, I think the same thing, like, is really, really good Pokemon, but you know, you really got to get him to like his full evolution, and it's kind of tough to do that sometimes, especially if you're, you know, if you're running him in the jungle. That's probably best case scenario, but yeah, really, really hard to do in the lane. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know this was a very theory crafty, kind of inconclusive video, but I've been thinking about the viability of specifically playing the game like the opposite of the way that you would normally play it, in hopes of, you know, staying in the game till late game. Now, when you do this, I will say this much, when you do this, you're gonna not have a point lead the whole game, but the whole point is to try to get a team comp to the end game that probably has a little bit more legs in the end game in order to win like the Zapdos fight and take control and win the game. So like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear it in terms of, you know, theory craft a team comp for me. Let me know if you think that this could ever be a viable strategy. Again, I'm not saying that it is. I'm very, very curious to see if something like this kind of becomes like a natural evolution of the game where people are intentionally, you know, like off-laning and intentionally like going, you know, against the grain in terms of what they would normally do in order to find some kind of a late game advantage. So as always, friends, thank you so much for spending your time with me here on the channel. I definitely do appreciate it. Join the Discord, drop a like on the video, and subscribe for future videos. Be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.